Welcome to the Answers Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Challenge yourself to change lives with the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. They make a no-strings-attached charitable donation when participants complete one or all of the 6 athletic challenges. In doing so, they aim to build a worldwide community that transcends sport and encourages people to make a positive lifestyle change while helping those in need. For 2023, a difficult but doable set of challenges has been created by Jeff Privete himself. They have all been inspired by his personal experiences throughout 2022. The events can be done in any order, and with the exception of the Road Gravel Challenge, there is no time limit for completion of a given event. All you have to do is make it through. Completing all 6 will require an incredible amount of dedication, courage, and a willingness to embrace the journey, regardless of the outcome. Won't you join Jeff at thebigbeltbucklechallenge.org? This is the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. Hello and welcome to the Answers Yes podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, I've been a little bit behind, but that's what it takes when you've got some really good guests coming on. And if you haven't heard the interviews or the discussions, I should say, between Rod Kuntz and myself, please check those out as well. We're talking about soft business essential skills, things that will kind of get you that next level. And then we're just talking about things that we encounter every day as entrepreneurs. And I think that the show is phenomenal. I've actually been re-listening to the shows that we recorded. I dropped one today, and I thought it was a really good one. So don't miss those shows. Now, if you've listened to the last, 15 to 20 shows, I've talked a lot about bringing on guests that I have an interest in for one reason or another outside of what the publicists have been bringing me the last 3 years. Well, today is one of those days where I reached out to somebody on Instagram and I got connected with Greg Dawson, and he's with me today. Greg, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Clearly you have good taste. We're wearing the same shirt today.
This was not planned.
You know what? Maybe that's why I liked you from the first day, because I'm a huge fan of the Flag Nor Fail flannels. And I know that's kind of your thing, right? You're always talking about the flannels, one of your favorites.
Honestly, I'm obsessed with flannels. Like, it's been that way ever since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Red is my favorite color too. So this was just picked out. I was like, you know what? This is what I'm wearing today.
There you go. Well, good. It's actually not exactly the same. You've got the painting on the back with the branding, and mine is just basic. I couldn't step up to the one you've got.
I the one on the back, honestly, like that graffiti print too.
Uh-huh.
I love graffiti art. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, please, 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 guys, like, I need this one. Please save my size.
Yeah. What is your size, Greg?
So my size is an XL.
XL. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and this isn't going to be a flag commercial. Sorry, Rob, but so I love flannels too. I collect Pendletons. My friend Danny Dreyer owns Dixon Flannels out of Arizona. I love his stuff. He's been on the show. And, but I got to tell you, when I was first introduced to Flag Nor Fail flannels, when they came out, instantly fell in love and realized that the quality and the product itself far exceeds anything I ever imagined, including I like Filson flannels as well. They're out of Washington, Oregon or something like that. I like their stuff too, but I'm obsessed like you are with the Flag Nor Fail flannels. So again, we got that in common. I don't know. Did you have other favorite flannels before these came out?
It wasn't, I never had any particular brand. It was just it was like, for me, it was something comfortable and cozy to always be in. I remember when I was a kid, my mom always had me dress up either in a turtleneck or a flannel, and like the flannel stuck with me forever. So like, even if I'm in the gym training, I'm most likely still wearing a flannel, even this one. And I have all the colors, all the prints. It's just something that literally I think everyone now identifies me as. If it's not the hair, they find me in the gym by.
It's the flannel.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, Rob, your commercial's over. If you're listening to this, we do love you. Thank you.
Oh,
Um, Greg, you just won. Well, you didn't win. You took third place. You had
yeah.
tremendous amount of success. Can you tell us what the contest was, weight division, all that other stuff? Don't give too much because we're going to come back to it. I just want to give people a heads up of where you're at from a success standpoint up front.
Okay, so I am a classic physique competitor. I turned pro last year. In the pro leagues, I get to now on stage weigh 200 pounds. And it was a very competitive class. It was a class of 13 guys from across the globe. Here, some guys here in Canada, and it was honestly just such an amazing experience. Like I don't think many people realized I was even getting ready to compete. It was like almost like a last minute thing. Everyone's like, "Wait, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Going to do the Toronto Pro." They're like, "What?" Somehow I just kind of slid under the radar on everybody and just like showed up. And
Mm,
for a pro debut, me taking third, I'm extremely ecstatic with that.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. I said first because in my mind, you're first. You know, like I tuned out the other guys on stage. I just, I've watched your story going along, and it seemed just like that. Like all of a sudden, you're going to go do this contest. Like, wait, he hadn't mentioned anything about that in his social media. And was that intentional that you were flying under the radar, or did you just make a last minute decision to go perform?
For me, I never really like I'm not a person that's very boastful or like I don't use social media to kind of be like, look at me, I'm gonna do this contest. Like I know how like some athletes operate, I understand like that aspect of it. But for me, like I like to more so just focus on the cardio, the eating, the sleeping, the posing, the training, rather than like taking my phone out every second, being like, okay, 6 weeks out, 5 weeks out, and so on and so on. It's just never
Mm-hmm.
been
Yeah.
right. I like my work ethic to pretty much speak for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, clearly that's what happened at this contest. So congratulations on that. Let's just take a far step back and talk about, we don't have to go into your childhood, but maybe a little bit of what got you started in this you basically have two jobs. You've got your regular day job, and then you've got this job as being a pro bodybuilder. What got you started in business and interested in what you do now?
Essentially growing up, um, I actually was a chubby kid growing up, and I got picked on a lot in school for
Mm-hmm.
that, which obviously it happens to a lot of kids, unfortunately, and it sucks. But I remember like my mom actually bought this like total gym machine and a mix of dumbbells that I got for my 13th birthday from my sister, and I kind of just like I didn't know what the hell I was doing with half of this stuff, but I was like, I mean, it looks like fun. So I was like, well, I'm gonna play with it. So doing what I saw in like TV, so like everything like bicep curls, and then the machine, doing some rows and things like that. And then I remember going to school after the summertime, and everyone was just like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, kind of looking around, like, "What's the whoa for?" No one ever, paid, no one ever paid attention to me before. So
Yeah.
everyone's like, all of a sudden, it was like, "Oh, you got to join this sports team. You got to do this. You got to do that." And I was joining a lot of teams. Like for me, my favorite thing was track and field.
Mm-hmm.
And with track and field, it required you to go in the weight room. So for me, it was like constantly going in the weight room. Like, and I just kind of fell in love with it from there. And later on in life, after I went to school for personal training, that was my thing. So I went to school here at Humber College and graduated and essentially went right into the field. So I worked for Good Life here. And Good Life is obviously personal training, but it's very much a sales job at the end of the day. Like there's no taking aspirin out of it. So I had hit all my sales metrics, and I had a manager that was essentially like, "Well, what other goals do you have?" And at the time, I didn't really have one. And he's like, "Well, why don't you compete?" And it's something like I never thought of before. And then I kind of just like did it because it was what the cool thing to do. It was a good way to like gain clients because like, oh yeah, I've done competitions. I never really took it seriously until like years later when I was just like, you know what, I miss that competitive edge because I've done like pretty much every sport. I've even done mixed martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
I missed really like putting myself out there and like really grinding it out and just like finished product, whether it was the finish line with Muay Thai knocking somebody out, sorry mom. um, But for this, it was kind of
Sorry,
like,
other dude, right?
sorry for a lot of dudes. But for me, I think the one thing that always was consistent was the weight room and the weights, and it gave me a good sense of mental fortitude, so that I was able to like transfer into even just my job here. Like, I look at everything like a task. Like, well, everything is a task, but like I really look at it from an athletic perspective. Even if I'm tired, even though I'm not mentally in the game, I still got to get it done. So for me, it was just like, well, let's attack some shows and see how that goes. So classic division was opened up. My was more suited for it. And then I just went all in. So it was my first show, got second. 5 weeks later was the next show, got first. Less than a year off. Next show, turned pro, and then here we are, the pro debut that happened recently, and got third place.
Well, that's the quick and short of it. This is my favorite part. We get to go back now and I get to ask you questions about what you just told us. Add some color to this thing. So, first of all, when I was a kid, I was very fortunate. I had an older brother. He's 3 years older. So when I turned 13, like you, here's the weight set. It's in the garage. We had a bench. We had some, one curl bar and, the good old Joe Weider, weight set, right?
One.
And my brother knew how to use it, and because he had already been in football, so he taught my other brother and I how to use the weights. It sounds like you were kind of left on your own. I mean, did you just went down there and try to figure it out until you got into sports in high school?
Yeah, that's essentially what happened. I just my mom worked a lot,
Mm-hmm.
so essentially alone a lot because my sisters were obviously their older sisters. The last thing they want to do is watch their little brother.
Yeah.
And I was fine. Like, I kind of liked being alone anyway. So I just essentially replicated whatever I saw. Like, I remember going on bodybuilding.com and literally watching tutorial after tutorial of like everybody, like everything from like Kai Green and like Phil Heath doing their thing. I'm like, okay, this is how you do it. No one ever really was around to teach me, and I just had to
Mm-hmm.
figure it out.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. So that whoa, when you got back to school, was it you must have spent a lot of time alone in that gym.
You know what? Like, there was like, honestly, there was maybe one other guy that would show up, but like he wasn't consistent with it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, me and the bench, that was it.
Yeah, I love that. It's interesting too when you go through those kind of growth spurts, in high school. Then all of a sudden, the coaches and other sports team members are like, "Hey, Greg, got to come play this, come play that." Outside of bodybuilding, or working out in the gym, what sports did you really enjoy playing? I mean, it sounded like a little track and field, but was that one that you gravitated towards and enjoyed?
Track and field during high school, yeah, definitely went for that because it was kind of one of those things where it's, I don't know what it was, like the starting block and just that head down and then pop, and then you just explode.
Mm-hmm.
And you have one objective, and it's to get past everybody else and get there first.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I interviewed Matthew Vincent not too long ago, and you're saying track and field. He was in those. I can't remember what the games are. It's basically you're throwing rocks and you're spinning around like with a catapult stuff.
It's,
But
yeah.
yeah. So, but he was world champion in that, and what a fascinating story he had, similar to yours. You just kind of fall into this stuff because you're naturally inclined to do it. Okay, so tell us about Good Life because most of my listeners are in the United States. I'm guessing that that's a gym that you got a job at. Tell us a little bit about what the culture was like there, and how you worked into that business as well as working out while you're doing it.
So with Good Life, well, yeah, it's a gym here, and the culture is pretty much, it's an inclusive atmosphere for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it honestly, for me, it was my second job actually in terms of training people. I had worked at one gym before, but it just didn't really work out. It was too far from home, like way too early of a stretch for me to drive. I had this beat up like boy, like it was a pain to get around. So I eventually left and went to Good Life. And honestly, I made some really good friends there. Like, we all helped each other out like a lot, especially that we're all new too. And I still talk to like at least a good five of them to this day. Like, we're very, very close knit.
Yeah.
And for me, it was one of those things where it's like, it's like, say for example, I brought on a new client, you literally had like 4 other trainers that looked out for you with your nutrition, your diet, because we were just like a big happy family there.
Mm.
Like I miss those days, but like obviously you got to move on in life, and but the culture was great. It was a great family vibe there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Down here in the United States, we have, 24-hour fitness and some of the, Gold's Gym and some of these others, kind of meat markets, I don't often associate the staff of these gyms with, I mean, most of them are pretty healthy, right?
Yeah.
And in some type of shape, but not to the level that you're at, so I'm fascinated that you were working in one of these, these types of gyms, but you were aspiring and building this bodybuilding career out of it.
The thing is, like, and you know what? You're absolutely right. There, obviously, we have multiple locations for these gyms, and once in a while, we'd have these meetings where we'd all get together and talk essentially sales. It was less about the culture at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But there was definitely, like, I'm not dropping in names because I feel terrible, but like, there are some trainers I look at them, I'm like, you're the top salesperson. You don't practice what you preach at all.
Yeah.
It's very fitting of your body. And I just didn't want to be that.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, like, if I'm going to gain a client, I have to, of course, have the knowledge because I went to school for this. It wasn't just like a weekend course for me. It was my body has to represent what I preach. I can't, I don't want to be like a round bellied pig, essentially. I mean, like, well, come train with me. I got you. It doesn't look like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I speculated that you'd say that. I almost keyed up that question to hear your answer because, I've been to these gyms. I've joined a few in my life, and you're right. When you go in to join, yes, there is a sales function to that job, but I'm always looking at the person behind the desk going, wait a minute, I don't want to look like that.
Yeah.
I want to look like you, Greg. Like that's the guy I want to sign up with, like, so, but it takes a level of discipline. And I want to compliment you on that because it takes a level of discipline to separate out your job and the levels of importance. You have to be good at sales and relationships, but you also have to be good with your own personal physique and training programs so that you represent both. And again, I want to compliment you on that because to me, that's what it sounds like, the type of person you were in that environment where you might have been more inclined to just make a sale.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, I would a lot of times turn people away because especially if they didn't quite understand. Like, unfortunately, sometimes one of the packages, for example, were called fitness starters, and you'd get like 12 sessions total.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, people have this misconception of how long it takes to look a certain way. I remember literally somebody saying, oh, so after these 12 sessions, I'm gonna have a six pack. And at first, I thought they were legit joking.
Yeah.
And I come to find out very much within like 5 minutes of the continued conversation, there was no joke.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to be brutally honest. How long did it take you to get this way? I'm like, how old are you? They're like, I think they were like mid 30s. And I'm like, well, you did about 30 years of damage. Let's just scale it back down and say 20. And you have now 12 hours. As I watch you walk into the gym with the open glass concept with a frap caramel Starbucks drink, large.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had one session. I was like, listen, I went to the front desk. I'm like, give this person their money back. This isn't going to work out for me. Cause like, I don't care about the money at that point.
Yeah.
Because they like every person you send out after you train them is a representation of you and your abilities.
Sure.
Right. So like I can get money any which way I wanted to if I really tried. But like if I'm passionate about something like that, and I am, the last thing I want to have somebody do is come to me and leave looking like a bag of milk.
Yeah.
Like it's at least let them be a skim milk at that point.
Yeah. You don't want them to be some half and half when they leave there.
No, not with me.
You know what, Greg, what's interesting about what you're talking about, and I'm going to just throw a little business in the mix, is that, I run a membership group for entrepreneurs, and it's the same. They join an entrepreneur membership because they want to launch a business, or they want to increase their sales, or they want to make more money, or they want to raise $1 million to launch their business. And they think by showing up an hour a week for 4 weeks, all the answers are going to be there. They don't realize that patience is so critical in success of anything. And that's where I love the industry that you're in, because I can respect the amount of work that's gone into what you've accomplished. It didn't happen overnight, right?
I wish it did. I'd be rich if it happened.
Yeah. Well, we name dropped Rob Bailey with his Flag Nor Fail, and of course he's married to Dana Lynn Bailey. And it's interesting because when you listen to some of the scuttle on social media, oh, she's on steroids, oh, she's on this and she's on that. The reality is that woman's worked out every day of her life the last 17 years. I mean, you're going to have some muscles, you're going to develop some discipline. So, I think this is a good lesson for our listeners as it relates to their own physical fitness. Greg's advice is, it's going to take some time. How long did it take you to get that way? Be patient.
Well, I'm actually 34, despite what people think. Everyone seems to think I'm like 20 something, which is great.
Yeah, take it all day.
Right. But you know what? Whenever somebody at the gym asks me, I tell them like it's been over 10 years.
Yeah.
Like this, the combination of sports and delayed gratification. Physically and like this is more mental than it is physical.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure. Talk to me about, you have a career. Tell us what you do for your day job real quick.
So with Purelator, I'm a logistics coordinator. So
Okay.
I do everything from like handling basic paperwork, so clerical work, making sure freight is shipped to the right locations within Canada. Like we ship everywhere from like the GTA all the way down to like North Bay, like as far as you can possibly send it. I also am cross trained to do dispatch operations, which is like part of our late night shift if it's ever needed, where I'm making sure like all of our like what's the word I'm looking for, our outbound freight. So again, Montreal, Quebec, Vancouver, North Bay, all those are going to the right locations, going out on time with the right carriers and drivers. And then I also do control. So within our yard, everything that's coming in, I'm documenting, making sure it's going into the right trailer doors for the dock to work, process fast enough, and then just pretty much keep it going.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the point is, this is not a part-time job. I mean, how many hours you put in a week in that job?
Recently I've been kind of cutting it back. So just doing my 8.5, but I worked everything from 18-hour days here.
Oh.
While still training.
Okay. Well, that's really what I want to get at, because, people got a lot of excuses out there. You're working a regular full-time job, even if it was only 40 hours. And I know it's not, you just said 8.5 hours a day minimum. So, you're working 40 plus hours a week in a regular job. And now you're training, or you have been training this whole time. How did you develop the discipline to do that? Question one. And second part of that is, how do you find the time to do both?
When it comes to the discipline to do it, for me, it's one of those things. It's as simple as me saying, you know what, I made a choice. Like I could have literally just done anything with my life. I could have just been like, well, I have a job and that's it. But I think having just a job and not having something you're passionate about is a shitty way to live your life.
Yeah.
Right. I find it boring and kind of meaningless. Like, not to knock anybody I work with, but a lot of them complain about their day to day, especially while being here doing the job they're listed to do.
Yeah.
Me, like, I could see fault in what I do. There are times when I'm just absolutely frustrated, but because of the training and the fitness shoots, everything that combines with what I do in terms of bodybuilding, I'm very fulfilled by the time I walk into this place. So nothing upsets me.
Yeah. Now,
So for me,
are you working out before work or after work, or it depends?
There have been times when I have definitely like I finish. So here I work until midnight.
Yeah.
It used to be much later. I used to sometimes finish work all like 3, 4 a.m. I used to finish here. and I would still go train if I couldn't get in during the day. But I typically will work out before work.
Yeah. Wow. And how many hours are you putting in the gym?
Whew. Thankfully, I invested in a treadmill, so at home it's one of those. Like, I get up for my morning cardio. I literally just open my door, open the next door beside me, and hop on for the 45 minutes to an hour that I need.
Yeah.
And then shower quick, grab something to eat, grab my coffee. I head to the gym. I also do have personal training clients I see very much in person.
Mm.
And I'll train them for, everywhere from like 2 to 3 hours. I have like at least 2 to 3 a day. And then I get myself training. I do my workout for about maybe an hour 45 or sometimes 2 hours, depending on the various conversations people want to have with me that day. And
Yeah.
then do my post work, do my post cardio. I get home, get another meal in, a shower, do some things around the house, maybe answer some online questions I have for some clients, and then I get to my full time.
Mm. Wow. By the way, I invested in a different treadmill, one of those Assault Fitness, they're self-propelled.
Oh,
Best money ever. So when I was competing in Spartan, my trainer had me on that all the time because it helps develop your speed, and stuff
yeah.
like that. But you're talking about getting up, walking out the door. Like literally I've gotten up, walked downstairs to my gym in my underwear, throw my tennis shoes on. I was just getting the time in, right?
Yeah, of course. You get it how you get
it. Ain't nobody down there.
it.
So yeah, a little shout out to Assault Fitness because I love their products, especially that treadmill. It's a really nice piece of equipment. Look, you and I both know that to have a physique that you have, it's really about diet and time spent in the kitchen. What you're putting in your mouth. Talk to us about that a little bit because I think that's where most people miss that. They don't realize how important it is and how much discipline it takes to get, that level of protein in every day, watching your carbs and all those other things, and the discipline to say no to the stuff that your buddies are eating around you, and drinking. Tell us about that a little bit, because obviously that's a critical component.
It's honestly the biggest one. So I am also a coach. Like I work under my coach as well. His name's Sean Tierney,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm part of the team T-Rex organization here. And he's I've been with him for like almost 7 years now. He's been
Mm-hmm.
my coach, and he will make my diet plans, my protocols, my training protocols, you name it. But once I get that, obviously the work is all mine. So, I it's time spent in the kitchen. Fortunately for myself, so actually last 2 years ago, I actually purchased a home, and my mom retired, and the last thing I wanted for her to do was, go into a home or anything like that, because it's her by herself. I'm like, you know what,
Yeah.
move in. So because I would never let my mom go unless I absolutely could not take care of her for whatever reason.
I love it.
But what's great is a lot of times while I'm at the gym or with clients or doing shoots, she's at home helping me cook the meals.
Mm.
So if there's anything that I maybe miss, she's like, "Oh, here, I got your food. I waited out for you." I'm like, mind blown. You just saved me an
Awesome.
hour.
Awesome. Literally, right? So
It's
just give us an idea of what your diet looks like for a day. Like what would you eat, morning through the day? I want people to understand, one of the things that my trainer taught me again, when I was competing, he's like, you're not eating for enjoyment. You're eating for the fuel and nutrients that your body needs to do exactly what I'm asking you to do. So get over what tastes good.
no,
I had a lot of overnight oats, by the way.
no, those are the best.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, you know what? Uh, you get sometimes I get clients that like, "Oh, can I squeeze this in or squeeze this in?" And the answer is ultimately no. Like, and that's where a lot, I think the discipline, everyone could train, everyone could stand on a treadmill and run like a hamster on a wheel. But when it comes to your diet, like that's when I personally find like mentally I have to like really get invested into,
Mm-hmm.
because like I have a major sweet tooth. I have the cavities from last year to prove that.
And you're honest.
And I'm honest, like I can't deny that. Like I'll as soon as the show is done, I'm like, donut, cheesecake, please, let's go right to the vein. But realistically, it's I'm waking up, I'm having eggs, egg whites, some sort of turkey bacon, whether it's turkey breast, ground turkey, or substitute turkey bacon. I actually have cream of rice quite often. Shout out to Grindstone. They really hooked me up with that. They've brand new
Awesome.
company, amazing. Or I do have oats, right? Because like, cream of rice is more of a higher glycemic. Oats is a slower breakdown, so it keeps me like full longer. That's just meal one. And then, I'm usually having some either like chicken breasts or turkey breasts, or right now it's typically mostly fish. So a lot of that's going through the air fryer. So like little things like that, where it's like, how do you even prep the fish? Do you put it in a pan and sear it? Or better for you, you air fry it.
Mm-hmm.
These little tiny things make the big difference in someone's diet. And, and it's hard to get people to understand that, because everyone is trying to look for a loophole, right? Like I never was trained to eat based on if it fits my macros. Because if that was the case, cookies, donuts, right now it's a macro.
Yeah.
So you got to eat for source and fuel.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like realistically, yeah, never everything tastes great, but I know my body's running optimally for what I need to do. Like if I was to crush a cake, I'd be happy, it tastes great, but I have a spike energy. And then when I need the energy to go throughout my day, I'm just down here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. And by the way, I don't even want to say how many years ago it was. My roommate out of high school. He was the California natural bodybuilding champion for a year. And the things that he would eat. But you talk about air fryer versus searing it, you sear something in butter compared to air frying it. That's the difference between that really nice looking six pack and not,
It's unfortunate. I try to trick my mind every time, and the reality is simple. Like it's a higher fat content.
Mm-hmm.
Just that information. You're like, well, I want to look my best whenever it comes show day, and it's like, do I really want that butter really that badly? No.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
work around it.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. So we've talked about your childhood. We've talked about your career. We've talked about your bodybuilding and training. What's next for Greg? You just pulled a third place. You looked phenomenal in the contest. I could tell the emotions were high. What's next for you, and what's that long-term goal?
So next for me, I'm actually technically 5 weeks away from another show.
Of course
Right.
you are.
Yeah. So I got a show in 5 weeks, and after that, I'm gonna enjoy the summer, because Lord knows I need to eat.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big boy. Like to lie and say I don't eat it's unheard of.
Yeah.
Like I make burgers and fries and things like that. But honestly, like for like long term, for me, this is again, I'm gonna plug in Rob and Dana, specifically Dana with this. I think Dana is truly the first athlete to take her skill set outside of the stage and still have a massive presence.
Mm-hmm.
She's motivation to many men, many women across ages. For me, and this is why I try, like, I try my best to be as positive as I am, and like thank everybody on my social media, because I want to build a community when it comes to this, because
Mm-hmm.
every athlete retires in some format, because we can't do this for the rest of our lives.
That's right.
Right. So for me, my long-term goal is to see other people take my place respectfully, and just have that presence of positivity that like Dana and Rob carry into the world and in the sport, because I don't think the world has enough of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think Dana is a huge inspiration for so many. I spent a month over at their corporate office working with Rob closely, and I just saw that firsthand. As a business consultant, outsider looking in, you can tell the mark that she's left, and what a great goal for you to have, to inspire people behind you, the next one's coming through the ranks. So, Greg, you got a huge heart. I see that in your social media. I love it. A couple thoughts, out in left field. What supplement programs are you on? Is there any supplement companies that you support and love? Because I know everybody's always looking for that next supplement, or where should I be going with this?
So for me, I've been with ANS Performance here in Canada for 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
They've been the company that's taken care of me for the long, like before I was even really known. I'm still not known that big, but I mean, these guys put their faith in me, and honestly, I love their products. Like I have like lactose issues,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never had any issues with the whey isolates, the various proteins, the supplements across the board, everything from the nootropic pre-workouts to the stuff that just like kicks you in the teeth to get going.
Yeah.
They've been a huge support for me for years now.
Love it. Any other product endorsements you want to throw out there before we start to wrap this thing up?
Well, the newest one, as I mentioned before, the cream of rice is a grindstone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I never really used to like cream of rice, but with them, it's just like, they have everything from the white rice, black rice. My personal favorite is the apple fritter.
Ah.
And they literally just came out with like pancake mixes. Like it's like pancakes for dummies. You literally add water. Yeah. You literally just stir it and it's on the pan and it's in your mouth within like minutes.
Yeah, love it. I'll have to check it out. Hopefully we can get it down here. Well,
I'll
Greg,
say, oh, I'm happy to.
we'd love to have it. Um, look, by the way, I say we'd love to have it. Samantha and I are probably both going to go on Dana's 8-week challenge. So I guess another commercial for the Baileys. She's got a wonderful 8-week challenge. You go online, you sign up, and she's giving away $10,000 to the male and female, both get 10 grand, who's have the most transformation over the 8-week. I guess she does this every summer. So
Yeah.
my wife, Samantha, who works there, she can't win because she works there. She's still going to do it. So we've spent, we went to Costco yesterday and we spent a fortune to make sure that we're prepped, have the correct food in the kitchen, because that's where it starts, to make sure that we've got good products there. So, we're open to all that stuff. Greg, you're such an inspiration and love watching your story online. So keep doing what you're doing. And I love your gratitude as well. If you're listening, you can follow Greg on Instagram. It's Gregory, Gegory, Dawson 89, Dawson 89. I'll put in the show notes. Maybe we'll get a little bump for you there on some followers. But yeah, love the stuff that you're doing. We didn't even dip into the posing portion of, performing. Like that's a big component. Like, where did you learn to pose and get all that stuff dialed in?
Honestly, for one, I think posing, honestly, I love posing. I think it's the expression of self.
Yeah.
For me to like, most people, like, they tell me, like, I don't know, like, how you're not afraid to do that. It's not to say they're not afraid. It's just that, like, once I hit that X and my song comes on, I just switch completely.
Yeah.
I've worked a million and one jobs. I've done everything from like bartending to like hyping up a crowd on stage, like dancing and stuff like that. So like I'm not really shy in front of a crowd. But for me, honestly, like I was kind of a bedroom dancer. Like so like
There you go.
I watch videos and I'm like, oh, like I can do all that stuff, like
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then I just, for obviously, like, another flag athlete, one of the ones naturally everyone looks up to is Terrence Ruffin.
Yeah.
And his style of posing is uniquely his own. Like there's not one person that could pull off what he does. So I study his quite a bit because his is more of like a legit routine. It's like dancing while hitting every one of your basic like compulsories, but it doesn't look like he's literally telling you a story every time he does it.
Mm.
And for me, it's like I want to be able to tell a story when I pose. Not everyone will know the story. Sometimes the stories are for specific people, but as long as I'm able to like convey that with a smile in my body, my physique, then I'm happy.
I love it. What's your song?
So my last song was by an artist called Burna Boy, and it was featuring Ed Sheeran. And it was actually for my girlfriend.
Now, the song obviously sets the tone, right? Do you start with a song now for your next performance? Like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. That's the song.
Like what'll happen is like I'll be going through playlists or just even a moment, and I'll remember a song, and then like I'll kind of I'll put it into like my headphones, and I'll start just kind of flowing into my posing, and I'm like, Oh yeah. 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 That's it. Like I'll start getting chills. I'll get goosebumps. I'm like, okay, I can't escape this song. Like, it's gonna keep playing. Like I went for a walk one night, like on my break, and literally played the same song for an hour, like
Mhm.
nonstop,
Yeah.
like intentionally. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is it.
Yeah. Visualization. Well, not that I'll ever be where you're at, but I'd probably do every posing session to Metallica or something. I just like I like the intensity. I don't know.
I gotta try that sometime, honestly. Like it's funny because when I was on stage about to go up for my song, one of the guys, he went on to like more of a rock song.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, yeah, that's for us stiff white boys. And I was like, don't say that. It was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to respond to that.
It's good for everybody. Well, Greg, I want to wish you the best in your next competition and in your career with bodybuilding, as well as your career every day. You know, you're spending a lot of time there. It sounds like you're making the most of that. And I think the world needs more people like you. I love your heart. You know, a lot of people, they talk about their goals down the road and it's like, well, I want to make a bunch of money or have this or have that. You want to help other people. You know, it's like, wow, okay. I'm not even surprised based on what I've learned about you. So I want to wish you the best there. And we'll look forward to seeing some results on social media from your next performance, your next contest.
And somehow I will be not noticed and under the radar until it's too late.
I love it. I love it, man. Well, we're going to notice you. So right on. Well, look, if you've enjoyed the show, please share it. We've enjoyed having Greg on today, and we'd love to hear if you've got any suggestions for other guests. And thanks for tuning in today. Thank you for listening to today's show. It is my pleasure and honor to interview all of the guests that have been on the Answer is Yes podcast. If you have enjoyed the show, please go on iTunes and subscribe, give a rating, or simply tell a friend about the show. We also believe in the message of our guests and the positive influence of their stories. As my own mentor and coach, David Meltzer, has taught me, spend some time every day thinking and writing about the things in your own life that you have more than enough of. You will find out how blessed we really are. Please visit my website, livelifedriven.com, for the latest updates about me and what I'm doing. Plus, I post a monthly blog about the many topics on this show. This podcast can also be found there. As I learned early on in life, what you believe is what you will achieve. Thanks, Mark Victor Hansen, and thank you, and have a great week.